For the longest time, the popular belief has been that civil war, insurgency, terrorism, these can't happen in America, we're different. And for at least my lifetime, American counterintelligence has ensured that belief to be true. Imperialism under the guise of national security and good old-fashioned democracy has provided top coverage for America's ugly truth. We aren't the exception, and we never have been. Cracks in the armor of the Stars and Stripe have been apparent since the Cold War. From the rampant espionage of the 70s and 80s to the whistleblowing and foreign election interference of the 2010s, America has the same vulnerabilities as every other nation we have exploited in the past. And with that realization comes a self-assessment. If other countries can exploit these vulnerabilities, how long until one of our own does the same or worse?
I hope so.
Let me put it plainly for you. The conditions that allowed foreign operations to succeed in the past are the same conditions that allow MAGA to prosper today. This is the racial state, and insurgency is its consequence. So the racial state, as coined by Inwood and Barron, is the idea that there are tolerable intimidation, violence, and chaos that's carried out by the dominant culture against the outgroups. And in this racial state, there's obviously a hierarchy. I don't have to speak too much on it, y'all know what it is. But in this hierarchy, power and tradition are valued above all other things. And resistance, that's something that's really not that tolerated. And when that resistance gets stomped out or deterred, it's treated as collateral damage. So why is the racial state so important? It's important because it's what has allowed MAGA to survive for so long. It's what allows those fine folks in Charlottesville to get downplayed. It's what allows their eating the dogs and cats to get dismissed. It's what allows a felon to get elected beyond a reasonable doubt. America's racism manifested itself into what may be able to kill it. So now that we understand the conditions that allow MAGA to persist, let's talk about how they get things done. And I'll lead by answering that question from earlier. If MAGA is a terrorist organization, what does that make Antifa? Well, nerd, the difference between Antifa and MAGA is in the party linkage. It's really that simple. Democrats do not mess with Antifa the way that MAGA messes with Patriot Front, Turning Point, Groypers, Proud Boys, the Klan, all of them, besties. Democrats is not putting that cosign on anybody in Portland. Allegedly. While MAGA, on the other hand, you could not even tell the difference between Lindsey Graham and one of these white nationalists in the middle of Nebraska. Couldn't tell you. They have conventions literally in Iowa. Couldn't tell you what goes on there. Yeah. Now, the scholars will call that a passive sponsorship. And that's where these soft endorsements that enable and promote the behaviors of the extra legal arms to do what they need to do. All of the people under MAGA's umbrella also willingly ascribe to that ideology. We're all Charlie Kirk, remember? And just like we're all Charlie Kirk, we're all MAGA. One band, one sound. Now, Antifa, the same way Democrats don't look at Antifa, Antifa not looking at Democrat like that. And they'll likely never will look at each other like that. They're not what you guys think they are. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about these soft endorsements and passive sponsorships. Specifically, let's talk about Turning Point USA for an example. Turning Point, throughout numerous points in the 2024 election cycle, is quoted as securing the youth vote. They had an informal position in the administration. Charlie Kirk, when he was alive, had a direct line to Donald Trump and vice versa. Now, what Charlie Kirk did with his influence, that's on him. That's really derivative. Can't really condemn the president for what Charlie did with his influence, even though he platformed him and promoted him and really was taking him under his wing to build him up to be something else. But you know what you can condemn the administration for? Their lack of condemnation for the extremists in their party. For example, why can't J.D. Vance condemn the Groypers and Nick Fuentes, even though they're literally on camera calling his wife a Jeep and his children dirt babies or what some shit? Crazy. Be a fucking man. In fact, I'd argue that their refusal to condemn these people is more of a stamp of approval than an actual endorsement. Because why are you letting that shit slide? What do you need from them? What do you want them to do? What does it benefit you to keep that relationship dynamic open? Answer me that, J.D. Vance. So whatever the administration is getting from those interactions, It's obviously beneficial to them that they keep those channels open. And vice versa is also true. The extremists or the operational arm are also benefiting from that relationship with the parent body. Every digital interaction that you see online, they're enriching themselves, they're becoming more infamous, they're broadening their network and their platform, and they're getting the exposure they never got when they were children. And all this is done while the administration keeps their hands clean of ever interacting with these people. I don't know them. Plausible deniability. These distinct interactions are what is known as signals in insurgency literature, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Now, when I mention signals, I'm not talking about whatever the hell Hegseth and them were doing in that group chat. I'm talking about...
Warning. Academic jargon.
Academic jargon. So according to Viktorov, signaling is mainly rhetorical in nature. They're not meant to get a response, but there is an expectation that something will happen. Claims like fight like hell, remigration now. They want to get rid of all the white people, transfer everybody. All of these signals act as gestures to motivate and inspire the operational arm to take action. It's kind of like socializing something that you want to do or something that you want to get. Damn, I wish I had a bag of chips. And then when they bring you the bag of chips, you act like you don't want it. And then you still eat it. And then as a thank you, you pardon them for storming in Capitol. So in addition to all the things that the signals benefit the operational arm and the parent body, they also provide and act as an external sanctuary to the operational arm. You know, there's a level of confidence that you have. There's a level of bravado that you have when you know that the administration is on the same page as you. So we talked about what they are. We talked about what they want. We talked about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they do it. So how do we stop it? The best way I can explain it is to make an analogy. Cue the organ. Well, if MAGA is a fire, and I'm not talking about the Holy Ghost fire, I'm talking about the fire that you gotta stomp out with your feet, smother it with a lid, put some baking soda on it, not the bleached kind, some bacon. All right, let me see. All right, so the best way that I can explain this is to make an analogy. If MAGA is a fire, what's the best way to put out that fire? Well, we got to examine the things that contribute to causing a fire. Fuel in the environment. What's the fuels? Signals, propaganda, rallies, fundraising. These are fuel. These are things that continue to give MAGA energy, energize the base, and make the fire spread. Let's talk about the environment. The racial state, the digital sanctuary. These are the things that preserve the fire. These are the things that allow this fire to fester, to linger, to survive. These are the things that allow it to be durable. This is what allows MAGA to carry out a decade beyond what it should have. So when you're dealing with a fire, and anybody that's dealing with a fire, y'all know, there's really only one or two things that you can do to really stomp it out effectively. Cut off the fuel or contain the environment. But in order to make that decision, you got to know what type of fire you're dealing with. Put my organ back on. You see, all right, I'm just playing. The way that you put a fire out depends on the type of fire that it is. If you got a grease fire, you can't put no water on that. If you got a circuit fire, you can't smother no circuit fire. You got to unplug it. If you got just a regular bush fire, you got to make sure that thing stays contained within a certain area or it's going to spread to the whole forest. I would say that MAGA is closer to a grease fire. And that's not to give a lot of credit to Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is the oil. Not my type of oil, but he's the oil. And you know, the thing that's really special about a grease fire or an oil fire, you smother it, it's still likely to catch fire again if that oil isn't cooled off. So to bring it all full circle, when Donald Trump is no longer legit, when he officially becomes a lame duck, the fire is no more. There is no more MAGA. And just for security purposes, legal purposes, all of that, there's scholarship behind that. And I'm so serious. I'm not making any threats. I'm just calling it what it is. MAGA is a hyper-centralized organization. That's what they call it, where it's top-heavy at the top and there's no a secession contingency plan for who comes after that. Usually with insurgency groups around the world, they're usually linked by family, or they're part of a gang, or they have some sort of link and tie that binds them together. All that binds the MAGA administration is blackmail and bullshit, apparently. But you see, it's this top-down diffuse structure that strengthens MAGA, but it's also a vulnerability. There's nobody behind Donald Trump. Stephen Miller doesn't have the juice. J.D. Vance doesn't have the juice. Marco Rubio does have it, but he hates them. And I'm not giving you escape. I'm not giving you a get out of jail free card, Marco. You know what you're doing is wrong. The only sensible politician in this administration, and you are enabling them. I really got some words for you, but we're going to save it for another video. But the scary part about this vulnerability is that I'm not the only one that can see it. Stephen Miller sees it. J.D. Vance sees it. The handlers around the administration, they all see it. Howard Lutnick, the people that wrote Project 2025, I think they saw it when they even decided to run Trump after getting all these felonies. They know what was coming. They don't care. They're in a use it or lose it situation, and they are desperate to try and hold on to whatever remnants of power that they can get. So they're breaking everything. They're running into things to see what falls over and that they can hold into their tiny little hands. This is why Stephen Miller has to double down on the domestic terrorism claims in Minneapolis. This is why J.D. Vance can't distance himself from the Groypers, despite them calling his wife a G and his kids poop babies. Insanity. They have to double down on their radicalization. They have to ante up. They have to outbid everything else. They have to continually escalate, or they're going to get ate alive by their own base. That's literally what it is. So that leaves us with one solution. You have to insulate democracy. And now I know I said in the beginning that we don't actually have a democracy. We actually have an anocracy. But I do, and I may be one of the only few people in my generation that still believes that America can be restored and turned into something that maybe it never was, but something that it had the potential to be. Something that, in my mind, the American dream should be. A place for equality, equity, and all. I think America could still live up to that. But there's a lot of work that has to be done. And first things first, we got to get these insurgents out of office. We got to get that power back from the insurgents. 2026 is the midterm elections. It's this year. So many congressional, state, so many elections. Use your constitutional right and go and vote. But the other way, on top of voting, that we insulate democracy, that's through strategic decoupling. And this is where the legal scholars, you guys are going to have to do your part. Step one, criminalize the signals. And this might come as an affront to the free speech and the libertarians. I don't give a fuck. Because they don't give a fuck. Anything is free game. No more plausible deniability. Tie it to conspiracy. Bring them all down. Bring the hammer down when you have the ability to do so. Step two, dismantle the racial state. That will require a lot and some tremendous self-reflecting of America as a country. Justice for the Native Americans. Justice for Black people. Justice for the immigrants that you've done dirty the entire time in this country. Real consequences for white supremacy. Level set. You have to make this nation what it was meant to be. A free and prosperous nation for all. Not just white people. You want things to get better, you have to give justice to the people you did wrong. Simple. You make America a safe playground for immigrants, queer people, trans people, other minorities, religious minorities, not just Christian people. You make this a safe haven for everybody, you'll be rewarded for it, Democrats. Trust me. Do not alienate people. Embrace people. Welcome people. Not extremist people. No. Not everybody. No. MAGA, not y'all. This is not for y'all. Republicans, we got some grace for you. But MAGA, fuck no. To bring it back to my fire analogy, the goal is not to just put the fire out, but the goal is to control the path that the fire travels along. You have to outlast the window of coherence of MAGA. Their legitimacy is only this small. We have to outlast that, and then we have to make sure that it can never come back again. Democrats, you're going to likely have 2 back-to-back administrations. You have your word cut out for you. But I believe in you. And I believe in America. What the fuck was that? Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you. Really appreciate you. This is the first lecture that I've given since I was literally an undergrad. I've been really meaning to get back to making these educational videos because they are near and dear to my heart. You know, that's what the ethos of this brand is. It's a platform by us, for us, brought to you by. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm leaning into my skills. Don't be afraid to be a nerd, y'all. But as always, this is the Half a Day Show, bringing you education, entertainment, and everything in between. I'll see y'all in a few. Peace.